Chapter ON. In a rainy day in London, I was sitting in the university's computer lab playing games, just like always. But what was strange about that day was that I received a message in the game's inbox. It was from Skerpskut 22. I had never seen that name in the game before. In my mind, I wondered if it was just another troll trying to throw me off my game. I opened the message anyway, bracing myself for a war of words. I was surprised by the words, "Hello there, are you new here?" With a smile on my face, my mindset instantly changed. And I wrote back, "Hello, no, I've been playing here for 2 weeks, so I'm fairly new." Skerpskut 22 then asked if we could be friends, and I agreed, because the game can be quite difficult at times when tackling some of the quests. Suddenly, the clock outside, namely Big Ben, began to strike 11, and I realized I would have to hurry to be on time for the next class. I hoped that the accountant, Mr. Glenn Habit, was back. The substitute and I didn't see eye to eye. I clicked to log out of the computer and started pulling my chair back as I stood up. People here don't like it when a chair scrapes on the shiny tiles. You can probably understand that. These days paintings and art forms are visible everywhere here in central London. I grabbed my book bag and headed straight for the door and started walking down the hallway. It was absolutely teeming with students. I tried not to make eye contact. Thank goodness for the stairs to the lower floor. The railing was also a golden brown color as the morning sun shone through the windows onto it. Double doors right in front of me. Funny that the ground floor had a royal blue carpet, but the rest of the second floor was tiles. Bright sun hit my eyes as I squeezed past the students. It made me think back to the taxi minibuses back in Petersburg. Yes, it had been almost 4 years since I was last home. For a moment I missed my people. A cold breeze tickled my sides as I walked along the cobblestone path. Shade trees planted all around the garden, their leaves crunching under the soles of my shoes. Thank goodness I was close to the building opposite where the classrooms were. I walked up the small steps and opened the door, a shiny ice-cold pipe for a door handle. You would think the university would have renovated these buildings by now, but it still retains its medieval period. "Morning," answered a familiar voice from just behind me as I entered the lobby. It was the security officer. "Morning," I replied with a smile. "Your student card, please," he asked. I felt in my jacket pocket and handed him the crisp white laminated card with my photo on it. The officer held the barcode against his computer and it gave a beep. "Thank you, you may go through," he said and handed my student card back to me. Room 13 is where I was headed, and on a Friday at that. Hopefully Mr. Habit was back. I followed the line of students around the statue, the thinker, a man in a sitting position with his fist under his chin and a strange look on his face, made by Fonderia Alexis Rudia in 1904. The only reason I could remember this was because on my first day, while searching for the class, I had stared at the statue and read the golden nameplate just under its foot. It smelled like a hospital. The cleaners had already been here. I wondered what they used to wash the floors, because it was giving me hay fever. The chatter of students filled the hallway all the way to the stairs where I had to go up to room 13. Why wasn't it on the first floor, I wondered. For a country so advanced and yet still clinging to old buildings and stairs, haven't they heard of a lift? Finally, past room 7. The last one around the corner was my final destination. Fluorescent lights illuminated the hallway. I counted every brick that passed me by. "Excuse me," said a voice behind me. "Sorry, I didn't see you," I replied. A student extended his hand to me. "I'm Matthew, nice to meet you." "My name is Carl." "Are you from South Africa?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "Did you see the game last Saturday?" "Yes," I answered shyly, "not that I actually watch much sport. You guys did well against New Zealand." "Thanks," I said with a question mark on my face. "Can I help you with something?" Matthew realized that sports didn't interest me much and quickly asked, "Are you on your way to Mr. Habit's class?" I eagerly replied, "Yes, it's room 13, just around the corner." "Great, I'll walk with you. I'm in that class too." "What year are you in, Matthew?" "I'm in my 2nd year. I had to return because my visa expired." "Oh no," I said. "Where were you?" "California." I looked at him in surprise. "Isn't that by the sea?" "Yes," he replied. "Venice." Sounds rather interesting, I thought. We walked into the classroom. No sign of Mr. Habit. A A tall, thin man with a bald head and a grey beard stood at the front of the class. "Oh no, not again," I muttered. Matthew looked up at me. "I take it you don't like Mr. Habit." "If only it were just him," I said, disappointed. Come everyone. Please take your seats so we can begin the lesson," bellowed the old man from the front of the class. It was none other than Harold Conyngham. "Please open your books to page 394. And he began reading from the book. The biological success of the multicellular body plan lies in its capacity for tissue differentiation and specialization of function. Differentiated organs and tissues, in the fulfillment of their specialized activities on behalf of the entire organism, cannot act autonomously." I stared through the window at the people in the garden, and I thought about the new friend I had met on the game. Who could Skerpskut 22 actually be? And why did he choose that specific name? Not much different from Puntbrook 7, which was mine. Mr. Carroll. I heard my name and was snapped back to reality. If you are not interested in the subject, you should never have applied for it. "I am sorry, Mr. Conyngham," I cried out, feeling as if the earth could swallow me whole as everyone's eyes glared at me, and I felt my face burning with shame. "Now then, what is the organism we were just speaking about, Carroll?" asked Mr. Conyngham. "Amoebas," I replied quickly. "Well then, at least you were paying some attention," said Mr. Conyngham, and he proceeded with the lesson. Phew, thank goodness. Lucky guess, but it hit the mark. Fortunately, I only have this semester left, then I can start my practical fieldwork at a firm contracted by the university. "Time," said Mr. Conyngham. "We will begin with an early exam next week. Please ensure that you are prepared. The marks will count toward your final exam." With those words, everyone around us shuffled their books together and began moving toward the door. Before Matthew could say anything, I was already out the door, on my way to the garden. I was dying for a smoke. I followed the path to the exit, down the stairs and past the statue. Thank goodness, I was outside in the fresh air. After walking a little distance away into the garden, under a willow tree, I made myself comfortable. I fumbled in my pockets. Where was my lighter? "I didn't know you smoked too," said Matthew, walking up. "Sorry, man. I just wanted to get out of that classroom as quickly as possible," I replied, taking the silver lighter from him. I lit my cigarette and examined the lighter closely. Family heirloom. I asked after rubbing my thumb over the golden eagle on the side. "It was my grandfather's," said Matthew, taking the lighter back to light his own cigarette. I took my wallet out of my trouser pocket and dug with my finger into the small pouch. I pulled out a South African 1 rand coin and held it out to Matthew. "Look, this is my country's money." Matthew's eyes widened. He took the coin and began to look at it intently. "Wow, the year 1989. "My birth year," I replied. "I've been keeping it for quite a while." "Don't you miss it back home?" Matthew asked. "Yes, sometimes. But I weigh the benefits on this side of the pond, and I remember why I came here in the first place." "Surely not for the girls with the funny accents?" Matthew asked. "No, irraplia. I figured this place is cold, rainy weather was just right for me, and that's how I ended up studying here." "So you're going to settle here as soon as you're finished studying?" Matthew asked. I stared intently at the leaves blowing across the grass, and I didn't know what to answer him. I hadn't decided yet. Chapter TW on my phone started ringing at 6 o'clock the next morning. Half asleep, I rubbed my eyes and reached for my phone to turn the alarm off. "Time to get up," I said to myself. With some effort, I climbed out of bed and stretched properly, put on my slippers and walked to the kitchen. In the mornings, it's a ritual in the house. First put the kettle on before I can get dressed and start the day. I held the kettle under the tap. Oh no, no water. I looked under the sink where I usually keep a bottle or two of water for cases like this. Thank goodness, I'll still get my cup of coffee. I took the bottle out and filled the kettle, put it back on the stand and waited for it to boil. I'm not one for breakfast, but this morning my stomach was growling properly. Yes, I still had some nice rusks in the cupboard that my mother had specially sent me. I took the red tin out of the cupboard and shook it. Yes, I could still hear a few pieces. Man, it almost felt like I was back at my parents' house. I set my cup ready and rummaged in the cutlery drawer for a teaspoon and walked to my room. I looked at my phone and saw there was still plenty of time left. Well, I'm in my room now. Might as well get dressed. The kettle hasn't boiled yet. I'll probably have to put vinegar in before I leave so the lime scale can come loose. Which shoes should I wear today? Probably not the same as yesterday. Those sneakers need to get some sun first. Yes, I think my blue jeans and black shoes will be nice. The ones I got on sale last Saturday. I haven't worn them yet. Yes, and I think the long sleeve shirt with the silver buttons will go well. I had barely fastened the last button of my shirt when a message came through on my phone. Curious, I looked. Nope, it was just an email. Another holiday I could win as soon as I bought the season ticket. Spam. Not that I'm interested in that kind of thing. I wonder where people get my information. I'm barely on Facebook and my email address isn't even on there. With that thought, I slipped my phone into my trouser pocket and sprayed on some perfume. Not too much. There goes the kettle now. I walked back to the kitchen and started pouring the hot water into my cup. That nice strong coffee smell early in the morning is enough to make anyone's day. I pulled out a chair at the small round table in the kitchen and took a rusk from the tin. With the first bite I wondered whether I should go to the university computer room again or rather take a walk through the shops. I'm up and ready for class early anyway. No point sitting here daydreaming all the time. Last rusk from the tin eaten and my coffee gulped down. Cup in the sink. I walked to the front door and took my apartment key from the fruit bowl, unhooked the latch and unlocked the door. No mail in front of my door. I turned around, locked my door and walked down the stairs. No one was in the hallway yet. You could smell someone's toast had burned. Glad I had rusk and coffee. I got to the first floor and saw Patrick by the mailboxes. Morning, Patrick. He turned around with a smile and took off his hat. Good morning, Carl. Where are you off to so early? I'm off to school again, I answered. Patrick looked at me in amazement. School? Aren't you a bit old for that? I laughed and said to him, No, I'm going to university. The big school. With relief in his eyes, Patrick handed me an envelope. Thank you. When did this come? I asked. About 5 minutes ago. Early bird catches the worm, said Patrick. Of course, I answered. Have a nice day, Patrick. See you later. And I walked out the door with the envelope in my hand. The sun was still hiding behind the grey clouds hanging over the town like a blanket. A light cold breeze played through my hair. Quite lovely weather this place has compared to hot days in South Africa. Let me rather walk, I thought after lighting a cigarette and crossing the road. I won't easily get a taxi here. The streets are quiet at this time. You'd think a few people would already be on their way to work, or maybe people coming off night shift would be on the road. At the big oak tree on the corner, I turned right toward the bridge. Here come a few cars now. No, they're standing still in front of the bridge. There's also a group of people around them. I wonder what's going on there. I walked along the sidewalk, and before I got to the bridge, I could see there was a protest happening again. What I could make out was some kind of animal cruelty organization. I walked on and took my last drag before the butt started burning, and flicked my butt into the water. As I approached the other part of town, here and there people were opening shops. Wow, I can smell the delicious scent from the bakery right here on the right. Its doors are still closed. Enough to make any person hungry. I have to cross over here at the street corner. Not much traffic. Just one truck speeding past and leaving its coal behind, worse than a fridge. But I'm not complaining at all. I would have lived in an igloo too if I got the chance. Maybe I will, when my studies are done, go on an expedition. You never know what kind of organism you might find in the ice. I turned into the university's big iron gates. Funny that they're open already. Usually I had to wait about 5 minutes until someone came to unlock. As it always is, other students also had the same idea as me to come here early. I walked along the path to the other side of the garden. I wanted to get into the computer classroom. Good morning. Friendly students left and right going into the building together. Everyone had their student cards ready. I had also taken mine out of my jacket pocket. Morning, said the security officer. He scanned my card and gave it back to me. I walked up the stairs and followed the few students walking ahead of me. Looks like we are going to the same place. Around the corner to the first stairs, and the computer classroom door was open. I went in the door. As I walked over to the back row by the window, where I usually sit, I counted 12 people around me. Luckily no one sitting near me. I quite like my privacy. It's so quiet, You could hear a pin drop. Same atmosphere as in a library. I put my book bag down on the chair next to me and started typing Dota 2 on the internet. I logged in, and yes indeed, a message. I clicked on the blue envelope. Skerpskut 22. It read, "Hello there. Are you going to participate in the competition? It starts this weekend. Let me know as soon as you come online." Competition. I haven't entered for something like that. I don't think I'm good enough yet to compete against a whole bunch of other people. But it could be quite exciting, I thought. I pressed the reply button and started writing. Of course I'm in. Thanks for letting me know. Are you going to take on the big boss again? I haven't got all my items back from last session. And I sent the message and started tackling the game again. Unfortunately, you can't hear anything without headphones now, and I didn't bring mine this time. Morning, I heard behind me. I turned around. Matthew. Morning. I didn't know you were into this stuff. He smiled and pulled out the chair next to me and sat down. Man, if you show me, I'll play too, I said. Yes, of course. More people in a team and we stand a better chance for the competition. How did you get home? I asked. Luckily not as wet as I would have been walking, but my apartment roof started leaking. Oh no, I said. So what did your property agent say? Matthew rubbed his chin. He wants me to pay for it. Apparently my fault. I looked at him with a question mark on my face, and Matthew quickly added, I had Wi-Fi installed a while ago, and the technician didn't seal the hole he drilled properly. Well, it doesn't leak that badly, but my carpet is wet. I'm not much use when it comes to building work, but I'll help you with it where I can, I said. Thanks, Carl, but I actually want to move. There's someone in the apartment above me who makes a proper noise and keeps me awake at night. Oh, that's a pity, I said. You'll probably move closer to the university then, right? Matthew didn't answer. He was focused on the computer screen, busy reading his email. I remembered the white envelope. I opened it. Oh, just a statement of electricity usage for the week. Here everything works per week and not per month like in South Africa. I asked Matthew what his email address was so I could send him an invitation for the game. Oh yes, here it is. And he gave me a piece of paper with his email address on it. Good, I'll send it through now. You'll just have to create a profile and choose a character. It's actually simple. And I explained to him who the strongest was and so on. Wow, answered Matthew. You've only been playing 2 weeks and you already know so much about it. I laughed and told him, I've played other computer games too, so this one is basically the same. It's just certain things are in different places on the screen. We then started playing, and Matthew didn't ask any more questions. I'm a good accountant, I said loudly. Matthew answered, yes, agree on that one. But why don't you take over from Mr. Habit then? I didn't have an answer, and pretended the question went by unnoticed. What's going on now? Asked someone on the other side of the row. I don't know, said another. I looked up and saw 3 students standing by their computers staring at the screen like salt pillars. Matthew and I got up to go look, and our screen started flickering and the mouse moved around strangely on its own, as if there was an invisible person fiddling with the device. Did I press something wrong? Matthew asked in alarm. No, I don't think so, I replied reassuringly. But I think the 2 of us should report this. Wait here, I said to Matthew. He shook his head. I'm coming with. I took my book bag and slipped the envelope into my trouser pocket and walked out of the classroom, on the way to the 3rd floor where the security control room is. It's also the room where the university's main computer is kept. No one is allowed there, but I think I'll find the technician there too. Just as Matthew and I got to the 3rd floor and turned the corner, one of the security officers came from the front. Stop, where are you going? The floor is prohibited to students, he said. I answered, excuse me, sir, we are actually looking for the technician. There are problems with the computers in the classroom. He replied, thank you, we are already aware. The technician has already been called. Thank you, answered Matthew, and said, I think we should rather go downstairs. Yes, I said, and we started down the stairs to the 1st floor. There's still an hour and a half before class starts. Shall we go have a smoke? I asked. I think so too, said Matthew. My nerves are shot. We then walked out the lobby to the exit and followed the path in the garden to under the big willow tree. Our smoking spot, so to speak. Matthew and I lit a cigarette at the same time and didn't say a word for a few moments, just blowing blue smoke clouds. Matthew, I broke the silence. You know that was out of the ordinary. It's the second time something like this has happened here. I think I'm rather going to get my own computer and just play at home instead of using the university's equipment again. Matthew looked at me and said, "Don't tell me you're scared now." "Look who's talking," I said sharply. "Look there," and Matthew pointed with his hand across the garden. There came the technician walking, almost running. You could clearly see he was heading straight for the computer room. "Do you think it's one of the students?" I asked. "I don't think so," answered Matthew. "I don't think they would be that careless. It must be someone from outside." "I think so too," I said. "Why now? Just after Skerpskut 22 sent the message. It's just a computer game. I don't think it could have anything to do with what's happening now." "What are you thinking about?" asked Matthew. "Oh no, I'm just wondering. Someone probably unknowingly put a stick with a worm in one of the computers and maybe it spread over the network. I know some people carry their hard drive with them. I'm not sure. No point in us trying to figure out the cause. We'll hear what happened. Universities and high schools are the same. News spreads like wildfire among each other." "Probably so," I said. "We should probably head to class now." Matthew looked at his phone. "Actually, still an hour left. Aren't you up for a coffee and a warm pie?" "Yes, thanks. I think that's just the right thing," I said, and Matthew and I walked through the garden, out through the iron gates. "Shall we go knock at the pub again like last night?" asked Matthew. "I have a better idea," and I pointed with my finger at the bakery just a bit up the street. "Mateys." "Yes, they're a good choice," agreed Matthew, and we walked on in the direction of the shop. "Quite busy here," I said, and pushed open the glass door of the bakery. All kinds of sweet treats and cakes stood in the window display. Tables everywhere on the brown and white carpet where customers sat enjoying themselves. I stood next to Matthew in the queue at the counter and looked at all the different pies. "That one, please," I said and pointed with my finger. "Will that be all?" asked the lady behind the counter. "And 2 large coffees, please. Matthew, you must choose what you want." Matthew ordered a piece of Mozart cake. "Isn't it a bit early for cake?" I asked. Matthew answered, "If you knew how nice it is you'd sing a different tune." Matthew paid with his card and we walked out of the bakery with the most delicious smells. We walked slowly across the road and sat down on a bench diagonally opposite the university entrance. "Eat slowly," said Matthew. "There's still plenty of time." I opened the brown paper bag and took a bite of the pie. "Hum," I groaned. "It's hot." "Has Tige Hond Verbrand Simond," answered Matthew. "A hasty dog burns its mouth." Surprised, I asked, "Where did you hear that?" "That's actually an Afrikaans idiom." Matthew answered, "I've also spoken to other Afrikaans-speaking people." I took another bite. "It's actually nice." Matthew poked at his cake with a small plastic fork and drank from his coffee. "You know, if we have to eat like this every day, we'll be round like a ball." Matthew smiled broadly. "I must take you to my aunt. She's quite blessed with cooking and treats." "Nice," I thought. "You just say when," I answered. "I'll just arrange it with her. I'm actually going to visit her this weekend if you maybe want to come along." "Definitely," I answered. "Where does she live?" "Just across the border in France, about 5 hours' drive." "That sounds exciting," I said. "I'll take you to a cheap shop where I bought my laptop. Their prices are reasonable. Maybe you can get one for yourself too," said Matthew. "Yes, thanks, that would be great," I answered. After we sipped the last of the coffee from the container, we each lit a cigarette and started walking slowly toward the university entrance. "Thanks, Matthew, the pie was very nice." "We take turns," said Matthew and tapped me on the shoulder. Matthew and I walked in through the gates and walked along the left side of the garden to the building where all the classrooms are. Room 13. We walked into the lobby and handed our student cards over to security at the entrance. "Thank you," said the lady and gave them back to us one by one. I looked at the statue as Matthew and I walked past it to the stairs. Ouch, I missed a step and my shoe slipped off the stair and I twisted my ankle. "Are you okay?" asked Matthew, concerned. All good, I just stepped wrong, I answered, and with a limp I walked with a sore ankle to the class. Thank goodness, Mr. Habit. How are you? Matthew and I asked at the same time. The older man stood at the door and smiled broadly. I'm glad to see you enjoy my class so much, he said, satisfied. Good thanks, sir. And how was the pie? Asked Mr. Habit, looking closely. And he stared at my jacket. Oh gosh, I said. Sorry, I didn't see that. Don't worry, answered Mr. Habit. It happens to the best of us. With those words he held out a tissue to me. Thanks, sir. And I immediately took it and wiped the crumbs off my jacket with embarrassment. First Conningham and now Habit, teased Matthew. Yes, yes, I said sharply and nudged Matthew lightly in his side with my elbow and took a seat.